Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a load of news stories to get into today, so let's talk about the world of AEW, All Elite Wrestling, and some big stories going on in the world of AEW. One being former WWE Superstar Buddy Murphy teasing a possible upcoming AEW debut. Now, Buddy Matthews, formerly known as Buddy Murphy in WWE, is teasing a possible appearance on Wednesday's AEW Dynamite in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, of course, this week's show is the second anniversary of Dynamite, and we're going to talk about the Casino Ladder match, we're going to talk about the TNT Championship match, etc. that has already been announced for the show. But it's going to feature, as I mentioned, this big Casino Ladder match. And the winner of the match will receive a future shot at the AEW World Championship, of course, currently held by Kenny Omega. Now, Buddy Matthews posted on social media a Joker emoji, likely referencing an open Joker spot in the upcoming match. Now, if Matthews does show up, he'll obviously have some tough competition in the form of Jon Moxley, Pac, Andrade, El Idolo, Lance Archer, Orange Cassidy, and Matt Hardy. Now, also on Wednesday, the Elite, which is going to be AEW World Champion Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, and the Young Bucks, take on Bryan Danielson, Christian Cage, and Jurassic Express. As also noted, Hikaru Shida looks for her 50th win in AEW as she faces off against Serena Deeb. Now, I saw this when Buddy Murphy posted this. Buddy Matthews, I should get used to saying that at this point. When I saw that he posted this on social media, to be honest with you, I think it's a red herring by him. The way I look at it as, if Buddy Matthews was legitimately the Joker in this match, why would he post that and spoil his debut? Why would he spoil his surprise? Now, some people on the counter side of that can be, well, maybe he's trying to make you think that you think, oh, this would be too obvious, so why would he spoil it? We're not talking that kind of 4D chess here. We're not. Buddy Matthews, we've heard the reports and we've heard the rumors that he's likely to be going to Impact Wrestling. The reason why he's probably likely to be going to Impact Wrestling is because he wants greater control over all of his independent dates, which isn't a case of like, well, AEW has massive control over his indie dates, because they don't. And a lot of people, we've seen all of these clips over the weekend, right, of the Dark Order and Negative One working independent shows as well. So AEW doesn't really tend to do that. But I think when it comes to Buddy Murphy, I don't think he doesn't want to do what people expect him to do. Everyone really expects him to go to AEW. But I've said this time and time again about people that are sort of at his level, if you will, coming out of WWE. You can go to AEW. That obviously is an option that he can go there. But look at the roster they have right now. Look at the talent they have right now. Whether it is Kenny Omega, Darby Allin, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Hangman Page, all of those names that they have, Chris Jericho, MJF. There's so many names, so many talented stars that they have at the moment under contract in AEW. Is it the best move for Buddy Murphy to go there right now? The answer is no, it isn't. If he wants to stand out, it's worth him going to Impact Wrestling for 18 months, for 2 years, whatever it may be, building up his reputation even more so that when his contract does come up in a couple of years' time with Impact, then people will be talking about, man, I really hope Buddy Matthews comes to AEW, because have you seen his work in Impact Wrestling? He's unbelievable. He's a former Impact champion. He's this, he's this. Or he's been tearing up on the independent scene as well. So I've always been under the impression that Buddy Matthews will be coming to Impact. There are two names, Buddy Matthews, Braun Strowman. Those are the two names that I think are going to go to Impact Wrestling, and I think Bray Wyatt's going to go to AEW. That's always been my kind of feeling, my gut feeling on the situation, and that hasn't really changed. So, yes, Buddy Matthews can tweet out a Joker emoji and people are going, oh, he's going to be in the Casino Ladder match. That would be very obvious, very obvious. And if you were Tony Khan, again, think of it this way. If you were Tony Khan and the big surprise was that Buddy Matthews was going to be the Joker, you'd be pretty pissed off if he tweeted out the emoji and spoiled his upcoming AEW debut. He just wouldn't do that. He would keep it a secret, wouldn't he? So I think it's very, very unlikely that Buddy Matthews is going to be that Joker in that Casino Ladder match. I really do. I'll let you know who I think it is going to be once we get onto that story later on. Speaking of possible signings for AEW, there's this funny story here when it comes to Chad Gable. Now, night one of the WWE draft got going on SmackDown on Friday. Now, among the picks saw Chad Gable and his tag team partner Otis being drafted from SmackDown to Raw. Now, since WWE disbanded American Alpha, his previous tag team with Jason Jordan, Gable hasn't really found much momentum on the main roster. This included a tenure with him being known as Shorty G. You remember that? Yeah, that was great creative, wasn't it? But on the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer radio show, Dave Meltzer reported that friends of Gable really wants him to sign with AEW as it would be a really good fit for him. Now, it's currently unknown when Gable's contract is up with WWE. He's a former NXT Tag Team Champion, SmackDown Tag Team Champion, Raw Tag Team Champion. When Meltzer says friends in AEW want him to sign with AEW, he means FTR. That's no genius reporting there. It's no genius report. We know that. I know that. If you've seen any FTR tweet or any FTR interview talking about their matches in WWE or talking about their opponents or their friends in WWE, they always talk about Chad Gable because they talk about the Revivals matches with American Alpha on NXT television or NXT takeovers. How many times have we heard him talk about that? That's no big news story. That's what made me laugh when I saw this, because I saw it got quite a bit of traction on social media and people were like, oh, wow. What a great insight. It's not great insight. We know that. It's out there. And it's one of those things, again, where it's like, that information is out there. Dave Meltzer at the moment it's very confusing. Very confusing, the world of Dave Meltzer at the moment. So we'll move on pretty quickly again. Of course, Chad Gable will be a great fit in AEW. Is he underutilized in WWE? Absolutely. Will he probably leave WWE when his contract comes up? I would think so. Probably. And he'd probably have great success in AEW. I don't know what he would do there. Maybe they would have him do something completely different to what he's doing in WWE. Maybe he wouldn't even be in a tag team. He would just be Chad Gable, Olympic wrestler. Maybe that's just a good character to do. Why wouldn't they do that in WWE? Because he's short. Obviously, WWE showed their hand. They don't like Chad Gable because he's short. That's why they called him Shorty G. Because that's the only thing Vincent Mann sees when he looks at him. He goes, he's short. That's the only thing he sees. That's it. So would he be more successful in AEW? Absolutely. But we don't know when his contract comes up. So until then, it's a bit of a non-issue. I'm sure there are plenty of people in AEW that are friends with people in WWE, and they're like, I really hope they would come in to AEW. I mean, again, I think it's a funny story. I really do think it's a funny story. Let's move on. Talk about Jim Ross. Now, Jim Ross, since he made his AEW debut in 2019, has made his fair share of blunders, shall we say, on commentary. He's made several blunders on call, referring to Jon Moxley as the WWE champion while he was holding the AEW Championship, calling Paul White the Big Show, referring to the show as WWE Dynamite. Now, obviously, these mistakes happen, but people still like to ridicule Ross for it. One recent botch was on Grand Slam Dynamite from Arthur Ashe Stadium, and it saw Jim Ross pause when naming Malachi Black to make sure he was saying his name correctly. If you react, he goes, Malachi Black. Now, Ross has commented on this. He said, quote, I did overreact. I think it's because I care too much sometimes. I really do. If I'm going to be called down by some geek on Twitter, have at it, folks. Think about everything. Think about the big picture. Think about my motivation for saying that was one of the most special nights of my career. It's just a pleasure to be there, and I'm getting better. So, to be honest, look, I've mentioned this time and time again. I've spoke about the Jim Ross botches and all this kind of stuff that he's made on AEW programming. That the guy's, nearly 70? He's 69, 70, something like that. And he was in WWE for a really long time. And mistakes happen. It's live television. Is it the Jim Ross of the Attitude Era? Of course it isn't. And I think people hold him to that standard, and I don't think that's fair anymore. I really don't think that's fair. People that want Jim Ross of the Attitude, if you could get Jim Ross of the Attitude Era and drop him into this AEW program, of course that would be great. That would be amazing. But that's not going to happen. That's not realistic. Appreciate Jim Ross for him just being there and for him adding his voice to some of these great moments. He can still call a good moment. He can still call a good spot. Bryan Danielson, when he made his AEW debut All Out, was infinitely better because you had Jim Ross going crazy when Bryan Danielson walked out. That's just the situation. So I'm not one of those people that gets on the back of Jim Ross. Do I think he should be transitioned in maybe just to be an announcer for Rampage? Yeah, I think Excalibur's a very, very good play-by-play guy, and he's the future for AEW in terms of play-by-play. And I say the future, he does the play-by-play now, to be honest with you. Jim Ross is more of a color guy with Tony Schiavone. But I just appreciate having Jim Ross there, because the moment he's not there, you're going to get these same people that will then say, oh, he's so missed, Jim Ross. It's like, well, you're the same person that was slagging him off for all of those years. So just, pipe down those people. Let's talk about Rampage. I mentioned it there The ratings haven't officially come out at the time of recording right now, but some of the overnight fast national ratings data for Rampage has come out, and it doesn't look great, to be honest with you. Now, of course, I'm always cautious when talking about overnight ratings or fast data ratings, because so many times, and we've seen it with SmackDown recently, whereby these numbers come out and they are just exponentially different to the final number. I remember when SmackDown a couple of weeks ago nearly did 3 million viewers according to the overnight ratings, and in reality it was like 2.2 million. So these things can be skewed, but when it comes to the Rampage number, it's fascinating because Friday's Rampage on TNT scored 594,000 viewers in the fast overnights. Now, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful on Twitter noted that the show averaged 316,000 fans in the 18 to 49 demographic, which would be around a 0.24 rating. Now, of course, since we do not usually receive the fast overnight ratings data, it's not known how much the final number fluctuates from the overnights, but if the number were to hold, it would be the lowest number for the show so far in both total viewers and the 18 to 49 demographic. So I think this is what Rampage is kind of settling into. Look, Rampage Friday, it had the Bryan Danielson match, but it had a main event of Orange Cassidy versus Jack Evans, and look, it's in a really tough spot, and I know people that don't like AEW will say that's an excuse. Oh, it's an excuse. You hammer Monday Night Raw, you hammer SmackDown or whatever, or NXT if they don't get good ratings, but you're making excuses for Dynamite, for Rampage rather. Look, but none of those shows air on 10 p.m. on a Friday. We know that spot's bad. When Dynamite was in that spot on Friday or Saturday, whenever it was throughout the summer, they did bad numbers. So the fact that it's taken till October, when the show debuted in August, to get to this point isn't necessarily a bad thing. Now, would going to 2 hours change that? No. Changing the time slot would fix that. That isn't going to happen anytime soon. And I think it's kind of a case now of, irrespective of what they put in there at this point, you're probably going to get to this issue where it's like 600,000, maybe 700, maybe 500. The CM Punk debut is an anomaly. The fact that did over 1 million viewers, that isn't going to happen again unless you have some ginormous debut or whatever it may be on that show. Even when you had the Grand Slam edition of Rampage from Arthur Ashe Stadium, that didn't do amazing numbers in comparison to other numbers, because it's still at 10 p.m. on a Friday night on TNT. I think for that time slot, it's still number one on cable, so AEW and TNT will be very happy by that. To be honest with you, this is what TNT and Warner Media and AEW would probably have expected anyway. They're expecting these numbers not to be great eventually because, again, it's the third hour of Dynamite. That's what it is. Now, the numbers will probably be a bit better when they have the live shows as they head into pay-per-views, etc., and that's an exciting thing to look at. But these numbers are going to happen. They are. And again, people can say, oh, you're just making excuses. Why aren't you hammering them? Because it's not surprising. It's not surprising. And the shows are okay. I don't think that sometimes they're great. Friday's show was just... Sometimes you do watch these Rampage shows and they are a bit like, okay, they do feel like an extended third hour of Dynamite that isn't particularly great sometimes. I think Bryan Danielson, Nick Jackson was excellent, as you would expect, Friday on Rampage. But the time slot's rough. The time slot's very rough. And I think people that are like AEW in the mud, what do you expect? What do you expect? That's my kind of feeling on that whole situation, to be honest with you. Now, as I mentioned, this coming Wednesday edition of Dynamite on TNT is a special anniversary edition of Dynamite. It's the 2-year anniversary. It's crazy to think that Dynamite's been on the air for 2 years already. Now, on Rampage on Friday, 6 of the 7 participants in the Casino ladder match, which you can see right there, were announced ahead of Dynamite's second anniversary show in Philadelphia this coming Wednesday. Now, of course, as you can see on the screen, those participants are Pac, Jon Moxley, Lance Archer, Orange Cassidy, Andrade El Idolo, and Matt Hardy. Now, like in past events, there will be a Joker entrant that will be revealed at the match. The winner of this Casino ladder match receives a guaranteed title shot at Kenny Omega's AEW World Championship. Now, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Now, again, Buddy Matthews teased he was the Joker. He's not. I would be stunned if he would be the Joker. Who would be the Joker in this one? There's kind of two options. Again, look at the outcome here. Look at the outcome. You've got two people in Bryan Danielson and Hangman Page who are vying for Kenny Omega's AEW World Championship. You've got Hangman Page, who isn't actually allowed to have that opportunity. Remember, he lost that match with the Dark Order. that prevented him from challenging for the AEW World Championship. So it could be Hangman Page, and we haven't really seen him since then. Okay, he was off on paternity leave after his partner gave birth to their first child. So could be Hangman Page. That's a real possibility. Or it could be Bryan Danielson, who of course has been vying for that rematch against Kenny Omega. He wants to face him, and he wants to face him now for the AEW World Championship. He would have to go through the Elite, obviously, he's going through the Elite to go up the rankings and get that match against Kenny Omega. Maybe this would be the way to do it. Now, I know some people would say, but Owen, he's facing Kenny Omega, and he's facing the Elite in an 8-man tag team match, so why would it be Bryan Danielson? Who's to say he can't do double duty? Who's to say? I think it's more likely, though, to be Hangman Page. I think it's the time to make his big return, and I think he wins that match, and I think that then cashes his ticket to eventually face Kenny Omega. The issue that they've got right now is that it feels like the story right now is Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega 2, and that feels like the match we're going to get at Full Gear. So if Hangman Page was to win this match, when would he have that title opportunity? Because for me, he's got to be the guy to beat Kenny Omega for the title. But when would they do that title change? Would they do it at Full Gear? Would they save it until another time? I don't know when that would be, when it's nearly 1 year that Kenny Omega won the championship in December. If they do another Winter is Coming edition of Dynamite, I don't know when that would be. But I'm going to say it's Hangman Page, but you can let me know who you think the Joker is going to be in the comment section below. Also announced finally for the show is the TNT Championship match between Sammy Guevara, the new TNT champion, of course, and Bobby Fish. Now, this is an interesting one because Sammy Guevara won the TNT Championship, and then Bobby Fish tweeted out that he wanted the first opportunity at the title, and then it was announced that that was going to happen. Now, interesting, of course, this is another case of going through the forbidden door because Bobby Fish is actually signed to MLW after his WWE release, but it's certainly going to be interesting now. And I tweeted this out, and it's just fascinating, isn't it? It's the 2-year anniversary edition of Dynamite. If you'd have told anyone 2 years ago that half of the Undisputed Era are going to be on AEW Dynamite 2 years later, you would have said that's crazy. Because at the time, the Undisputed Era were NXT. They were carrying that brand. They were part of the reason the show went to the USA Network, because they felt that they could carry the brand. At the time, when Dynamite makes its debut on TNT and when NXT makes its debut on USA, how did they get to that point? They got to that point where I think on that very show, the Undisputed Prophecy gets fulfilled in the week prior, actually, rather, because NXT actually debuted a week before, didn't it? Dynamite premiered on TNT. But that show was about Roderick Strong winning the North American Championship and the Undisputed Prophecy getting fulfilled, the Golden Prophecy. Every member of the Undisputed Era held gold at that period of time. And then if you'd have told anyone that, oh, by the way, when Dynamite was premiering on TNT and when NXT was on 2 hours at USA, if you'd have said, oh, by the way, 2 years later, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, they're going to be in AEW. They're going to be wrestling. Bobby Fish is going to be wrestling for the mid-card championship. Adam Cole would have just made his debut. You'd have said that's laughable. So it's just crazy how these things change so quickly, isn't it? But, of course, Sammy Guevara is going to retain the TNT Championship here, but the match, it's going to be great. Obviously, it's going to be great. There's no doubt about it, is there? So, very excited to see that one, and just interesting to see if they do anything with Adam Cole and Bobby Fish. I don't think they will, but I wouldn't be surprised. We'll leave that one there. But look, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these AEW news stories you've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved with the community, drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. It really does help us out here on YouTube, go the rankings, and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.